Do you think you know the French Revolution? When you picture this tumultuous time, do you see the iconic guillotine, the towering, fearsome blade poised to end lives? But set aside the machinery of death for a moment. I'm about to tell you one of the most staggering executions in history, one that was carried out not by a machine, but by a frenzied mob using their bare hands. This is the shocking story of Princess Lamballe, the best friend of Marie Antoinette. What this mob did to her on September 3, 1792 is truly unbelievable. We're going to delve into the verified facts surrounding her brutal murder and unravel the grotesque legends that continue to be believed today. This is a story steeped in intense loyalty, absolute terror, and the alarming speed with which a person can be transformed into a symbol of hatred that demands destruction. Before she became public enemy number one, Princess Lamballe lived a life marked by extraordinary experiences. Born Marie-Thérèse Louise de Savocaron in Italy in 1749 to an incredibly wealthy family, she married the Prince de Lamballe at just 17, a man known for possessing one of the largest fortunes in France. But the trajectory of her life took a devastating turn when her husband tragically died within a year, leaving her a widow at the mere age of 18. This heart-wrenching loss propelled her into the glittering, yet perilous world of the French court at Versailles. It was here that she encountered another young woman also navigating the treacherous waters of royal life, Marie Antoinette. Their friendship blossomed instantaneously, becoming legendary in a palace filled with pretense and deceit. When Marie Antoinette ascended to the throne as queen, she appointed Lamballe as the superintendent of her household, a position that signified much more than a mere job. Lamballe became part of the royal family, her loyalty evident in everything she did. However, such loyalty came at an unimaginable cost. As public animosity toward Marie Antoinette intensified, it inevitably spilled over to her friends. Disgusting pamphlets filled with vile accusations swept through Paris, branding the Queen's inner circle as traitors and accusing them of the most scandalous behaviors. The close friendships that Lamballe enjoyed with women like Antoinette were twisted into scandalous rumors of secret love affairs, inflaming public furor even further. Lamballe, once a quiet and supportive friend, was transformed into a villain, a so-called corrupting influence, a spy for Austria, an enemy of the French Republic. A monstrous target was painted on her back, and the situation was about to turn horrific. The storming of the Bastille on July 14, 1789 marked a watershed moment. The monarchy began to unravel, and aristocrats fled the country in panic, desperate to escape the impending chaos. At that time, Princess Lamballe found herself safe in London, where her friends and family urged her to remain. "Please stay here. Don't return." But her loyalty to Marie Antoinette was unwavering. The Queen was in grave danger, and Lamballe felt a calling to be by her side. In a poignant letter, Marie Antoinette implored her to come back, proclaiming, "I must live and die with her." With a heavy heart, Lamballe prepared her will, acutely aware that she was likely walking into her own death, and traveled back to Paris. She returned to a city teetering on the brink of chaos, a fiery furnace of conflict. Lamballe was there when the royal family attempted to escape, only to fail miserably. She witnessed the terrifying moment on June 20, 1792, when a violent mob stormed the palace. Witnesses later recounted that throughout the unprecedented chaos, Lamballe's sole concern was for the safety of the Queen. Her own life mattered little in comparison. Tragically, that loyalty would cost her everything. On August 10, 1792, the monarchy was entirely overthrown. The royal family was imprisoned within the Temple fortress, while Lamballe, separated from Marie Antoinette, was thrown into La Force prison, one of the darkest, filthiest, and most terrifying places imaginable. As August waned, panic gripped Paris. An enemy army was rumored to be marching toward the city, threatening to incinerate it if any harm befell the royal family. But instead of fostering fear, the atmosphere transformed into something monstrous. The revolutionaries suspected that spies and traitors lurked within the city's prisons, just waiting for the chance to escape and strike back. Revolutionary leader Georges Danton bellowed, "To conquer them, we must dare. Dare again, always dare." And France is saved. Such daring quickly morphed into brutal frenzy. On September 2nd, the bloodshed began. For 5 relentless days, mobs swarmed the prisons, initiating what would be known as the September Massacres. They dragged suspected traitors from their cells, held sham trials lasting mere seconds, and then butchered them in the courtyards. The streets ran red with blood while Princess Lamballe listened, trapped within the confines of her cell, horrified by the cries for mercy floating in from outside. Lamballe was not an ordinary prisoner. She was the ultimate prize, representative of everything the mob loathed. It was only a matter of time before they came for her. On the morning of September 3, 1792, the moment arrived. 2 guards entered her cell, signaling that it was her turn to face the so-called tribunal. What she faced was no legitimate court, it was a farce. A handful of men sat at a grimy, blood-stained table, charged with determining life or death within seconds. When Lamballe entered the room, she was nearly overwhelmed by the sight of the corpses piling up in the courtyard. They posed her a few questions, but she remained remarkably composed. Then came the moment of truth. They demanded that she swear loyalty to liberty and equality while renouncing her allegiance to the king and queen. This was her last chance for survival, yet she defiantly refused. "I will readily swear to the first, but I cannot swear to the second." "It is not in my heart," she told them resolutely. A voice nearby urged her, "Swear. If you do not swear, you are dead." Despite the intense pressure, she would not betray her principles. Reports vary, but another account suggests she steadfastly stated, "Whether the first die sooner or later is a matter of indifference to me. I have made the sacrifice of my life." The verdict was immediate. Let Madame be set at liberty. To anyone else that might have sounded like a reprieve, but it was a sinister signal, a secret code for the mob eagerly waiting outside. It meant, "She's yours now." She was forcibly pushed through the door, shoving her straight toward her executioners. Once she entered the courtyard, absolute chaos erupted. The ground itself had become a slaughterhouse, littered with bodies. With their faces twisted in grotesque rage, the mob closed in on her. This is where the tale takes a nightmarish turn, and we must separate the verifiable history from the wild rumors that followed. Yet even the confirmed facts are profoundly shocking. What we do know for certain is this. Eyewitnesses describe a small woman in white who stood alone for a mere instant. Then the first blow struck a hit from a pike or a hammer that landed heavily at the back of her head. Her cap fell off, revealing her long, flowing hair. As she fell to the ground, a second blow struck her forehead, and she was gone. What unfolded next was sheer mayhem. The mob swarmed around her, repeatedly stabbing and beating her to death with pikes and sabers in a brutal, chaotic frenzy. The violence was unrestrained and ended in mere moments. But they were not finished. In a harrowing act of degradation, they severed her head from her body, stripping her corpse naked and leaving it unceremoniously abandoned in the street. Her remains were never officially recovered. These brutal events represent the stark, undisputed truth. Princess Lamballe was brutally beaten to death and decapitated simply because she refused to betray her friend. The reality of what occurred is horrific on its own. But what the mob did next, and the myths that sprang from this tragedy, are even more grotesque. As we delve deeper into this grim saga and separate the nauseating facts from the even more lurid fictions, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button. Your support helps us explore the dark corners of history that often go unseen, and you won't want to miss what's coming. The murder of Princess Lamballe didn't end with her execution. The mob used her corpse as a weapon, impaling her severed head on a pike and parading it through the streets of Paris. Their destination? The Temple prison, where they intended to force Marie Antoinette to witness the horrific consequence of their violent wrath against her closest friend. This was pure psychological warfare. When the mob reached the prison, they gathered beneath the royal window, shouting for the queen to come out and see the atrocity. Some accounts even insinuate they wanted her to kiss Lamballe's lips one last time. Inside, the royal family heard the terrifying commotion. The king's valet recognized the head and understood its ominous significance. As Marie Antoinette pressed for details, guards rushed to barricade the window. We may never know if she actually saw this terrible sight for herself, but one thing is clear, a guard bluntly informed her. They are trying to show you the head of Princess Lamballe. Simply hearing those words was enough to shatter her composure. Marie Antoinette reportedly let out a piercing scream and collapsed, losing consciousness from the overwhelming horror. She is said to have wept through the night. The mob succeeded in their cruel intention, inflicting a deep psychological wound upon the queen. By murdering her friend, they tortured Marie Antoinette in the ugliest possible way. The image of her best friend's severed head displayed on a pike would haunt the queen for the rest of her life. As horrifying as the reality of Lamballe's death is, the outlandish myths that arose in its wake are perhaps even more disturbing. For centuries, lurid fictions have persisted, twisting the narrative into grotesque fantasies. Let's debunk some of the most outrageous and enduring myths surrounding her tragic fate. The most notorious myth involves the alleged sexual desecration of her corpse. Tales circulated that she was raped, that her breasts were severed, and her genitals mutilated. However, these accounts are almost certainly false. Contemporary records, even from those who opposed her, make no mention of such horrific acts. Many of these vile details were likely fabricated in royalist propaganda to portray the revolutionaries as subhuman monsters. We even have concrete evidence related to the items found in her pockets, which indicates that her body remained clothed after her death. Furthermore, gossip emerged about cannibalism, with wild claims that her heart was torn from her body and consumed. Yet again, this appears to be an entirely fabricated story created purely for shock value. There is no credible evidence to support such an assertion. Many other myths are equally dubious. One tale alleges that her severed head was taken to a hairdresser to be styled and powdered to appear more presentable for the queen. This is utterly unsubstantiated. Another more romantic myth suggests that she managed to conceal a secret message from Marie Antoinette within her hair, an idea that, while captivating, lacks any basis in reality. The most notable myth of all is that Marie Antoinette was forced to kiss the lips of Lamballe's severed head, a scenario that has been repeatedly debunked through historical accounts. So why do such grotesque and absurd stories persist? The answer lies in the realms of sensationalized propaganda and our fascination with horror. By focusing on these horrific fictions, we risk obscuring the real woman at the center of this agonizing tragedy. The execution of Princess Lamballe wasn't a state-sanctioned punishment, it was a lynching. It was a ritualistic murder carried out by a mob that saw her merely as a powerful symbol rather than a person. Her death is one of the most infamous moments in the annals of the French Revolution. The verified truth surrounding her demise is disturbing enough. She was a woman whose only crime was loyalty. She chose to return to a city aflame to stand by her friend. For that bravery, she faced a sham tribunal, declined to betray her principles, and was turned over to a mob that beat her to death, severed her head, and used that head as a weapon of psychological torment against Marie Antoinette. The actual events are horrific enough. They don't need embellishments about cannibalism or mutilation. The truth is chilling, revealing just how quickly political rage can extinguish empathy, how easily a crowd can morph into a death squad, and how one person's life can be reduced to a mere object of hatred. The story of Princess Lamballe serves as a sobering reminder of the human cost of revolution. It compels us to confront the uncomfortable truth that the most horrifying narratives aren't always the fabricated ones, they are the ones rooted in reality. Tragically, Lamballe is remembered less for her vibrant life and more for the unspeakable savagery of her death. What did you find most shocking about the true story of Princess Lamballe? Do you believe history should focus on verified facts, or is it just as important to explore the powerful myths? Share your thoughts in the comments below. For more deep dives into the dark and often misunderstood chapters of history, make sure to subscribe. Subscribe to our channel and hit the bell to support our work. Never miss an upload. Like this vid, drop a comment and share it with others to help us grow this historical community.